This is a Jonathan Small, again, broadcaster from AccessTV.org studios in downtown Hartford, doing my show All About You, which is a new weekly program that I had just got started last week. Today, I have again another special guest, former Hartford Police Chief Daryl K. Roberts. He's going to give his life story from the beginning to where he is today. Good morning, former Chief Daryl Roberts. How you doing?
Good morning, Jonathan.
Okay. Could you kind of just give the viewers out there how your life got started as a child growing up in the city of Hartford?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I'm very pleased to be here. I think this is a humbling experience. I know it's not the time to be humble, but I'm very thankful that someone is interested in my life. As you know, I'm a native of Hartford, born and raised here. I'm the product of a single family. My mom, single parent household. My mother raised me by herself. When I was born, she was 14 years old. But I say that to say this. We talk now to a lot of young people, and we always emphasize the fact that they come from a broken home or a single parent, whether it's a mom or a dad or a grandparent raising. I just want young people that's not the end of your life. You shouldn't use that as an excuse not to succeed. Because my mother always told us that you can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it, and it's not where you live, but it's how you live. When I was born, my mother was living on Worcester Street. My father was living in Bellevue Square. That's where my paternal family comes from, Bellevue Square. And from there, we moved to Martha Street. As a young man, I attended Bonnet Brown, and then I attended Vine Street School, which is now Thurman Milner School.
Okay.
So, and that's if you look, if you think about, that's in the heart of our city. That's the inner city. It's what we would now term as the ghetto. But it was a good place for me as a young man because I learned some things, some values that helped shape my character and develop me as a person. It made me want to succeed. It made me want to help people and feel important because I had a good foundation. You know, my mom was a strong person, but she had my grandmother, and my grandfather was the male role model in my life. And he taught me a few things, like you treat people with respect, pride, and dignity, the way you would like to be treated, you know, and I've learned from that. From Vine Street School, well, I lived there on Martha Street, Martha Ninenfield. We lived there until I was 12 years old. And then from there, my family moved down to Dutch Point, Martin Luther King Projects, where I met a lot of great people in the project. You know, like I said, I'm the oldest of 8 boys. My mother is 8 boys by herself. On my father's side, I have 2 sisters and 2 more brothers.
Okay.
So I have a very large family.
Yes.
But it's important that as a family, we stuck together because most people know us. But I was on welfare until I was 18 years old.
Okay.
You know, I was on welfare. My mom told me that I had to leave at 18 because when you're 18, if you're still in the house, of course, you know the welfare check is cut and things happen. So from there, you know, I went to Buckley High School, and I was a pretty good athlete in high school. I went to Buckley High School. I participated in football, basketball, and track is where I got my discipline from. Had some great mentors, some great role models. My coach, Graham Martin, my guidance counselor, Bonnie Terrio, God rest her soul, she taught me a lot. I had an English teacher, Mrs. Paley. English, she was from England, and she taught me that organization was the key to success. So I tried to be somewhat organized. I was athlete of the year in high school, graduated in 1977. Uh, Went to college on a football, track, and field scholarship, and I hurt my knee, so I didn't participate in football, but I did run track. After knee surgery, I ran the fastest time in the quarter mile in my life, which is about 46.5. And at that time, it was pretty fast.
Pretty
now,
fast.
now it was slow.
Yes.
At that time, it was pretty fast.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, I wanted to come back to Hartford, where I was born and raised. I wanted to come back to Hartford to try to give something back to the city and try to participate. Because when I was a young person, I was about 11 years old, and I had decided I wanted to be a police officer. And at that time, you know, it was in the 60s. It wasn't popular for a black man to want to be a cop because it was during the riots, the civil rights movement, things of that nature. And I had told all my friends I'm going to be a cop. They all laughed at me. They said, we're going to roll on you, you're going to be the pig, and this and that. But, you know, names that derogatory names they call me. But we were riding at the time, you know, Jonathan, and I just really thought that in order to make a positive difference, you had to change the system from within. Because as you know, during the rise of the 60s, we were doing a lot of just destroying our neighborhoods, just destroying the community, destroying the stores. But one thing I know is as a young person that the people doing the rioting were contained.
Yes.
You stayed in your neighborhood. You couldn't come downtown. You wasn't getting across the river on these Hartfords. So a lot of young people at that time destroyed their neighborhood. So if you owned say a corner store, mom and pop store, that store got destroyed. That store got burned down. The schools got burned down. But what was troubling to me was that the people destroyed where they lived. So in other words, if you didn't have transportation out of the community and you were on say a fixed income, you were on assisted living, whether it be welfare, some other type of assisted living, you couldn't get out the neighborhood to buy what you needed, whether it be milk, bread, cheese, whatever. You would destroy that person's store. And then one thing I observed that was really just kind of boggled my mind is that when the stores got repaired and the neighborhood got rebuilt, it wasn't rebuilt by the people who lived there. It was rebuilt by people who didn't look like people from that community. They came in, rebuilt the neighborhood, and then they left.
Yes.
So that means they took the jobs. They made you feel good because most people where I came from were emotional. We get upset, we get violent, and we destroy our neighborhood. So I said, listen, there's got to be a better way to change that. Because at that time, there were very few police officers that looked like me. You know, most of the police officers that we saw did not look like people from my neighborhood. So I wanted to, get inside the police department and do what I could. So in 1982, after college, I joined the Hartford Police Department.
Well, Chief Roberts, the point where you decided that you wanted to become a Hartford police officer in 1982, I would say your preparation and your mindset was already prepared. You did go to college. You had life experience. Your mother had told you basically you have to come out the house at 18 years old of age. So that kind of made you grow up a little bit early, realizing that I wasn't going to have much of stability, at least at that location. I mean, you'd have to find another house to live at. Going to college was obviously important. But what was the criteria level in 1982 as a person looking to join the Hartford Police Department?
Well, the criteria at the time is you had to have a high school diploma or GED to join the force. You took a written examination and you took an oral examination.
Okay.
And that's what happened. So, and I was fortunate. I was blessed. I got in the process. The first time I took the exam, I was a junior in college.
Okay.
I was home for the summer. I took the exam. I passed everything. Did very well. And then I was told, well, listen, you need to go back and finish school, get your education, and when you come back, you have a job waiting for you. I was naive. I believed it. So I went back to school. Didn't finish because I owed some money because I was scholarship. It ran out, but I came back. And at that time, when I got back, so you got to take the process all over again.
Yeah, okay.
So I was a little disappointed, but you know what? I said, nevertheless, my mother has taught me never to quit. So I took the test again, went through the process again, and this time, lo and behold, I got on the department. Now, once I got on the department, I realized in order for me to elevate and to move up, I had to complete my education. So at that time, I went back and I got 2 degrees, one in sociology, and my second degree is in criminal justice.
Okay.
And so at that point, then got into the process where I started taking exams on the job. Then exams was a way to get ahead because I was a detective for a long time, but I realized detective was an appointed position. And in our department, if you get appointed, that means you could be unappointed, and then you'll be disappointed. But if you take a written examination, they can't take that from you. Like education, you get your education, that's something they can take away from you. So having done that, I was able to elevate and then move through the process. I was blessed because I was from the city. And being, a black man from the city gave me a lot of credibility with the people because people knew me, they knew my family, and I came from where they came from, which I think made a difference. And what I tried to do as I elevated up, through my entire career, John, was to give stability to the position, but also build trust. I think when you're in public service, no matter what position you hold, you have to build trust among the public. If they don't trust you, then nothing happens.
So obviously education and preparation was very important. The fact that you was from Hartford, you knew the streets, and that's really important when you become a Hartford police officer. What was some of the experiences when you joined the Hartford Police Department in 1982? What was the climate like in Hartford, Connecticut? What was you dealing with as a police officer
Well,
during that time?
and that's a great question. I think that some of the issues that we deal with right now, poverty, unemployment, and a sense of hopelessness, and what I saw in the police department is that there was no trust from the minorities in the community. Black and Latinos did not trust law enforcement. And as a rule, our history teaches us as blacks in this country that we shouldn't trust law enforcement.
Hmm.
Because don't forget, once upon a time, it's nothing new. It was legal to have slaves.
Yes.
And so if you escaped the plantation, it was law enforcement that brought you back into slavery.
Hmm.
So we have a natural distrust of law enforcement.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I really wanted to change, with civil rights being what it was. On paper, we were equal, but we weren't treated equally.
Hmm.
And I felt that in law enforcement is a way that it would empower me to help people who felt they had been done a disservice by if you will, the establishment.
Hmm.
And so in '82, the biggest problem was, and it is today, that young people did not trust people of authority, especially people in law enforcement. I mean, if you go through a community now, the first thing they say, don't be a snitch, you the man, I can't stand on this corner.
Hmm.
But as I tell people all the time, when you're trying to better your community, you should work with law enforcement. You should build trust. One of the things that I did as the chief is co-authored the neighborhood policing plan, which they still use. And part of that plan was holding police officers accountable to their communities.
Hmm.
And that means a guy wearing a white shirt,
Okay.
not your shirt.
No, but that's a white
Yeah,
shirt.
but I use your shirt example. But a
Uh-huh.
guy in our department, you wear a white shirt, that means you represent the administration.
Okay.
Lieutenants and above, lieutenants, captains, deputy chiefs, assistant chiefs, and even the chief, we all wear white shirts. That means you're part of the decision-making process in that city. So I was mandatory for my lieutenants to attend the community meetings because they were the decision makers. If the community had an issue and something needed to be changed, that lieutenant, that captain, that deputy chief, assistant chief had the authority to make that decision. If you send a guy in a blue shirt to a community, which is a patrolman, and they say community service officer, they hear the problem,
Hmm.
they understand what it is, but they still have to go to lieutenant to make that decision.
Okay.
I wanted the lieutenants to hear it firsthand. I wanted them to be part of the community because that's where you gain and you build the trust. You have to be part of the community. That's one of the reasons why I believe I was very successful, because the community trusted me because, as I said, I was from where they were from, and I understood the challenges and things that they had to deal with on a daily basis.
Okay. Now that's well spoken, and obviously 82, you say, in some areas is still similar to where we are at today in 2012. But the point that you was able to move up in the Hartford Police Department over a 30-year, almost a 30-year period to become the chief of Hartford, was that something that you had vision when you entered the Hartford Police Department?
Well, I think every police officer comes on the department when they join, Jonathan, they say, I'm going to be the chief.
Uh-huh.
We all say that. I think everybody that joins at some point in time, they want the elevator, they want to feel important, they want to run the place. My goal was to be a sergeant. I felt that if I became a supervisor, for two reasons. Number one, the stripes on the shirt stand out.
Okay.
That's something I always kind of respected. But number two, I was in a position to really supervise and manage the people who make a difference. When you get in the white shirt, you're very rarely on the street.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I tried to do with community policing program was to get the white shirts to come out of the office and get onto the street. But the officer, the first responder, the guy who answers that call when you call the police department with your problem, report your complaint, the guy that comes to the door
Mm-hmm.
is the guy that makes a difference. The guy that supervises that person makes a difference. They have the most influence. It's very rarely, got the two most important positions in the police department is the first line supervisor, which is your sergeant, and of course the chief of police, ultimately responsible for everything that happens in the department. So it was my goal to be a sergeant, and from there I continued to take exams and move up because I thought that in order to make a difference, you had to be in a position where you could make decisions and affect the people in a positive situation. But also I felt that no matter what happened, if I was studying together, it would make me better at what I was already doing. I believe in progress. I believe in constant improvement. And I was blessed and able to rise to the top. But I did it with a lot of help. You know, I did it with a lot of help. My foundation from my mom, my grandmother, of course, my faith. You know, I'm a firm believer that, I do all things through my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And we're blessed. And I'm blessed in that respect because I was able to serve. I even changed the model of the police department. My predecessor was Patrick J. Harnett, a good man. He came from New York. He was from the Bronx. He was a captain. But when he was here, he had a motto. His motto was, police do matter. And I think that police do matter. I think that in any community, you have to have law enforcement. I think it's important. But I changed the model to service, relationships, and safety. And I did that based on my experience being from the community. Because I understand that no matter what profession that you're in, even your profession, people want three things. They want good service, they want to have positive relationships, and they want to feel safe. And I wanted to change the culture of our department because our department at the time, like other departments throughout the country, it was cops and robbers. You police, so you caught bad guys. And in most cases, our counterparts looked at us, minorities, black and Latinos, as bad guys. I didn't look at people that way, you know, because I'm from the city. There are a lot of great people in the city, a lot of good citizens that want to do the right thing. And if you think about it, you know, you look at the city during the daytime, we have a population of about 200,000 with people coming to the insurance companies, working downtown, what have you. At night, the people who live here is about 123,000. Now just imagine, Jonathan, I have 500 police officers, which I wanted 500, but I'm gonna say 475. Yeah, say 123,000. If everybody in the city was actually a bad person, a criminal, there's no way you can manage this city with 400 or 500 officers with 123,000 people doing bad things.
Yes.
So the majority of people, could you have your 10%ers? There are very few people that are, in my opinion, that are just inherently bad people. You have one person commit a litany of crimes. He could be a burglar, a robber, a purse snatcher, a drug dealer. He could be a one-man crime wave. If you capture that individual, crime goes down. So I want people to understand that there are great people in our department. There are great people in our city. So the culture had to change. I wanted our officers to look at people with respect, treat them the way they need to be treated. I believe that every man's a gentleman and every woman's a lady until they show you differently. When they show you differently, then you treat them accordingly.
Okay. Well, there's so much areas we tried to cover today. I know we're not going to be able to cover everything, but I think we did do a pretty good job. People can look at you growing up as a young person, graduating high school, and say they want to be something with their life. If they want to be a Hartford police officer or they want to be any particular profession, what would you kind of recommend or advocate that people in general, particularly young people, need to do if they want to have a very successful career like you?
Well, let young people understand, first of all, that they are important and they do matter. Secondly, you have to have a goal. You have to have a vision, and you have to believe in yourself. And you should never, ever, ever quit. Once you decide you want to do something, then lay the foundation. Always be working toward that goal. There are a lot of obstacles that happen. And with me being a former athlete, running track, and I always admired the high hurdlers for this reason. When a high hurdler jumps over the hurdle, he's not concentrating on the hurdle. He's concentrating on the goal at the finish line. Because when you lose sight of your goal to finish line, that's when you fall over the hurdles. It's the same in life. If you lose sight of your goal, then you see the obstacles, you see the hurdles, and that's when you fall. You should always be focused. It's an old Negro saying, and I didn't like the term Negro, but I'll use it.
Yes.
Old Negro saying, you always keep your eye on the prize. You stay focused on what you want to do. Because I believe that you can do anything you want to do in your life, just stay focused on your goal.
Okay, those are real important, encouraging words that I think people out there need to definitely pay attention to. Now that you are retired from the Hartford Police Department, what is your life like now? I mean, what's challenging you now? What's your goals that you're trying to pursue at this particular moment?
My biggest challenge right now is to make sure that people in the community understand that they're important
Mhm.
and that they do matter. Because a lot of times our young people get involved in things they shouldn't get involved in because they want to be important and they want to somebody to notice them. They desire greatness, they desire importance, and some people get it in negative ways. But people need to understand that it's the same analogy I used earlier that when you start to do things to make you feel important, and if it's negative, you're going to destroy your community, you're going to destroy your family. And my goal right now is to hopefully be a positive role model to young men, especially young men, because a lot of times young men want attention. They do things that they shouldn't do, and then they get looked at by people as they say, okay, he's a young black man, he must be in some type of trouble. And we view, we treat people the way that we see them, Jonathan. I try to see people positive. Right now, my goal would be to continue to serve in some capacity, but also to be a mentor to young people, especially young people that look like me, young men who don't have positive role models or positive male figures in their lives.
Mhm. Would you say one of the biggest obstacles that continue to hurt a lot of young people is the fact if you have a criminal record like a felony, it really puts you in a bad situation of trying to get a legitimate career? I mean, I know you don't like to use the word excuses. You don't want to
Right.
justify your excuses, but that seems to be a major problem that a lot of our young people have felonies on their record. What can you advocate to try to change that?
A lot of times they don't know the law. They don't understand what they do. A lot of young people, well, okay, if a young man from, say, an urban environment, he's about 12 years old,
Mhm.
okay? He gets into an altercation with his friends, or whatever the case is. They get into a fist fight. He knocks his friend, say, off a bicycle or skateboard,
Mhm.
okay? He takes his bicycle, skateboard, and he takes it after the altercation and rides down the street. Now, he or she doesn't know it, so that's a robbery.
Yes.
A robbery is a felony.
A felony. Okay.
That stays on your record.
Mhm.
Now, a fist fight could be a breach of peace. It could be a misdemeanor like an assault third.
Mhm.
But if you take something from some person in the process of a physical altercation, that is now a robbery. If you get caught with X amount of, say, drugs on your contraband, whether it's weed, whether it's cocaine, crack, that's a felony. That stays with you.
Mhm.
If you experiment with narcotics stays in your body for the rest of your life. That's a felony. If you smoke marijuana, you say, okay, I smoked marijuana in high school. Bad judgment, okay? But I was selling marijuana in high school.
Okay.
That's a big difference,
Mhm.
and sometimes we don't always understand that. What we think is as our constable would say, is horseplay. For us, it's almost a death sentence to your future.
Mhm.
I mean, it shouldn't be the end of your career. You have a chance to get it right. But say, when I was on the department, a lot of guys would come on, and even guys, from suburban areas, they say, listen, I smoked weed when I was in high school, but I haven't smoked, say, 20 years. So we'll attribute that to bad judgment.
Mhm.
But if you're 21 and you want to join the police department at 23, you say, well, I started smoking weed, say 6 months ago, we can't do anything with you.
Okay.
So that will definitely prohibit you from pursuing your goal if it is to get involved in law enforcement.
Mhm. Well, obviously, Chief Roberts, you have proven that you can be successful despite whatever adversity that you go through in life. Coming from a single parent household, 8 brothers total, poverty, a lot of issues in Hartford that was going on, very similar to what we have here today. So if young people and people in general could look at you and say, well, look, I come from a negative environment, I got issues that I'm dealing with, but the chief was able to be successful. If somebody came to you and said, I need a little bit of steering in this direction, I need a little bit of mentoring, would you be willing and open to work with people at some capacity?
I would more than happy to do that, but I would just say this, Jonathan, don't look at your situation as being negative.
Okay.
'Cause I'm a firm believer that how you see so is what you become. We were poor, but we didn't know it.
Okay.
We went outside and we played. We interacted with people. We built interpersonal skills, relationships. Young people today, and no disrespect to you in the media,
Mhm.
but the media has a tendency to direct people, and technology. Our young people today, and technology is a wonderful thing. but they communicate on Facebook, they instant message, they tweet, all that type of stuff. When I was growing up, we didn't do those things. We went outside and we actually talked to each other. It wasn't I'll text you later. It wasn't no hit me up. We went out and we worked with each other. In other words, if we played basketball together, right?
Yes.
3-on-3. I'm the worst person on the team. You and another player, say Mr. McCauley, for example, you were the best 2 players on the team, but you worked with me to get me to come up the way we need to be so we can win our next 3-on-3. Our young people don't do that anymore. We have commercials now encouraging young people to go outside and play for 60 minutes. That was unheard of when I was growing up. You know, when I was growing up, if you got sent to your room, that was considered punishment. Okay?
Okay.
You couldn't go outside, that was considered punishment. Young people now is sent to their room, they shut the door. What's in their room? Laptop, iPhone, television, everything they want is in there. There's no reason to go outside. That's why a lot of young people that are very unhealthy because they don't interact with each other. They lost basic communication skills. They don't know how to interact. They lost the common courtesies to please, to thank you, the good morning, Mr. Small, how are you today?
Yes.
All those things are gone because they communicate now by way of social networking, but it also desensitizes them. That's why it's very easy for a young man to pick up a gun and shoot another young man because it's not real in that person's mind. It's almost like a video game because that's what they do now. They're programming themselves to do bad things.
Well, Chief Roberts, it was very blessed to have you here today
Thank
during
you.
this program. I was really encouraged by what you was able to go through with your life story. And hopefully sometime down the road, we could probably show the success side, because we showed people today what you have to go through. And many times when people see the nice house, they see the nice cars, the well-dressed, the money, they don't understand the process that you have to go through. So we might be working sometime in the near future to show people the successful side of our guests also. But that's not saying that we're going to do it right now. But again, it was very enlightening to have you on today.
Thank you.
Former Chief Darrell Roberts was the chief here in Hartford, Connecticut. He started the Hartford Police. He started in the Hartford Police Department in 1982. He went right, you know, from the starting point over a 30-year period to be very successful. And again, he is a true inspiration if you're looking for somebody to be inspired by. Again, this is Jonathan Small. I enjoyed doing the show today, all about you. I thank my executive producer for putting this program together here on accesstv.org. Until next week, I would like for everybody out there to be very blessed, be very encouraged, and just look at this program and pass the word out. All About You is a program designed to be all about you. Thank you.